Welcome back, Crackle Addicts. I'm Lupinefiasco. This is Daily Fab Gameplay, and it is Road to Nationals 2025 season. I had my first event this past Saturday, the 15th, and in Daily Fab Gameplay tradition, I'm going to talk to you about it. I recorded recaps after every round, so you'll get my thoughts on the matchup that I just played, whether I won or lost, but I will skip to the end, give you a spoiler alert, because we all love to see what the local metas look like. My RTN was not won by me, unfortunately. It was won by Prism. So this is the meta breakdown for our RTN here at Final Cut TCG in Sacramento, California. Great shop, really love going there. It is my LGS. I play in the Armory every weekend. I go out on Wednesdays for our social night, so I knew a lot of the people there. All of our locals came out, and the top 8 was stacked with our locals. 6 of the 8 top 8 players were from Sacramento, were part of the Final Cut scene, and our Prism was also a local player, so really proud of him. Really proud of everyone who made it to top 8, and just for everyone showing up. So this, as I said, is our meta breakdown, and I'll put the top 8 conversion up on the screen now, but we had Aurora with a 100% conversion, Kano with a 100% conversion. Both Acilios made it to top 8, so 100% on Acilio, 100% for Viserai. Of the 2 Iras, one of them made it to top 8, so 50% for her. Of the 2 Prisms, one of them made it, so 50% for her, and only 1 of 3 Zens made it, so a 33% conversion for Zen. My finish was, after Swiss, I was 2nd seed. I played into the 7th seed, who was Prism, and after what was sort of a close game, and you'll hear more about that matchup in the recap, I was unfortunately knocked out of top 8, so not qualified for Nats as of yet. I have 3 more RTNs that I'm planning to go to, 2 next weekend and then 1 in week 4. And of course I will give you updates and recaps on all of those as well. I do give more instantaneous recaps on Blue Sky. A link to my Blue Sky as well as my Discord and Patreon are in the video description below. While you're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider a subscription to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see Daily Fab Gameplay in your YouTube feed every time there is a new episode. So I'll start with just a bit about my mindset going into the RTN, why I brought Aurora. You'll see the recaps, and finally we'll end with some closing thoughts about the day and about how my matchups went. So I brought Aurora rather than Syndra because, for one thing, I felt more comfortable with Aurora. If you've been watching my Syndra gameplay reviews, you know that I'm still making a few sequencing mistakes and maybe being too aggressive with daggers, so I wanted more time to learn the deck, figure out how to pilot through my good matchups, much less my bad ones. But I honestly expected more hate towards Syndra at this event. I was expecting more Jarl. I was expecting any Azalea. Sacramento is close enough to Reno that the Reno guys came down to play. There's a really good Azalea player in Reno. I think there were 2 even. One of them was playing new and one of them didn't show up. So I thought Syndra was going to be a bad call for the event, but especially because I just don't want to play the Syndra mirror. There's a lot of work I need to put into to figure out how to actually break open the mirror, especially when I lose the die roll, so I just didn't want to deal with it. I think Aurora is really well positioned into Syndra. I think she has a positive matchup going 1st or 2nd, and for all of the assassin that I was expecting, I think Aurora is really well positioned to deal with them. And then locally we have a bunch of Ira and a bunch of Assassin. I feel very comfortable with Aurora into Assassin, and though I don't have reps into Ira, I felt like it was something I could navigate. So Aurora did feel like the choice to make. I am happy that I brought Aurora. We'll get more into that in sort of my closing thoughts, but that was my mentality for bringing Aurora. I showed up with a backpack full of snacks, So jerky, protein bars, celery and carrot sticks. As you can see from the thumbnail, I'm a big fan of Gatorade now, just for more electrolytes throughout the event. If Gatorade's looking for a sponsor, looking to break into the flesh and blood scene, I am ready and willing. Snacks are really important to me. I cannot play long flesh and blood events without eating. I know some people can. I am not one of those people. By the time I get to round 3, if I haven't eaten something, I am jittery and unfocused. So snacks are a big part of it for me. I was a little nervous going into this event and just felt like I'm nervous going into any event, honestly, regardless of my level of preparedness. There's just so much variance in Flesh and Blood, and with Aurora, she is hyper consistent much of the time, but she is a Rune Blade. She can draw hands at 4 instants, 4 attacks that don't have go again on a turn where I can't block. I do feel like she is well positioned within the meta, but she has her bad matchups. The Jarl matchup in particular feels pretty bad. Basically, the things that beat Syndra also happen to beat Aurora. So I felt like I was going to catch some incidental hate, but that no one would be targeting me specifically, so just decided to roll with it. And I think for the most part it paid off. So I'm going to shut up, we'll get into the recaps, and after that, join me back here for my closing thoughts and reflections about the event. What's up, everyone? It's Lupinefiasco, walking over to Final Cut TCG to play my first Rhodes Nationals event of the 2025 year. This is the first of 4 that I'm intending to go to. No events within 100 miles of me for week 1, so happy to just let the meta develop, see what everyone's playing. A lot of Viserai, a lot of Syndra winning. I'm not expecting really any of those heroes, though. My local scene has been on Assassin lately. A lot of Assassin, a lot of Ira. So I'm bringing Aurora today. She's the hero I'm most comfortable with. I gotta put some more reps into Syndra. There's some sequencing issues that I'm having with the deck, where I think I'm losing some games that I shouldn't be, but Aurora, very solid, playing a variant of putting Tam's list, where I'm just trying to extract value, playing a bunch of defense reactions, electromagnetic somersaults, a bunch of 3-block attacks, and we just chip people down and find an eventual 5-card 20. So nothing super special, nothing spicy, but I think it is the deck that I'm going to do best with. I will be reporting as I go after each round, give you a little recap if I won or lost, how I think I could have improved, and you've all enjoyed these in the past, so hopefully you will enjoy this report as well. I'm hopeful going in. A lot of Assassin, some Ira, put in some last-minute Warmonger's Diplomacies for a few out-of-town Azaleas that are coming in. But overall, I feel confident, and it's really good not to be playing the most hated, most targeted deck in the format. So I will talk to you all real soon. All right, I've been a bad content creator today, and instead of leaving the store after my first 2 rounds to record recaps, I instead caught up with locals. So got a lot to talk about. 3-0 currently out of a 5-round Swiss, which I believe means I'm locked for top 8. So great news for me. Aurora has been firing on all 8 cylinders, feels really, really good. Break down the first 3 matchups here. Round 1 was against a Vynnset. I believe the only Vynnset at the store. I won the die roll, went first, so off to a good start. And my Vynnset just had a string of bad luck, misplays based on maybe some nerves. Definitely, they said they had a late night, working the graveyard shift, immediately drove 2 hours to come to Final Cut. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am a chronic loser of round 1 games in events like these, so absolutely respect the jitters in round 1. But my opponent banished an attack action on turn 1 and forgot to make a rune chant. My opponent did not know that their Grimoire had Arcane Barrier 1, so we kind of just got there. It was a close game considering that my opponent missed a few triggers and interactions, and I think if they had had it, if I don't outright lose the game, it is much, much closer. I did not bring Warmonger's Diplomacy into this matchup and was kind of rewarded for it. So the 2 hands that I would have had Warmongers I had Current Funnel instead. I was playing 3 blues and chose the Lightning Bauble instead of the Warmongers. Both of those hands had Arc Lightning in them, and one of them had Channel Lightning Valley. So in the second Arc Lightning hand, yeah, I could just play Arc Lightning, pitch Warmongers for Grasp, Sword, have it be functionally the same as Current Funnel. But in the first hand, I would not have been able to keep a Channel Lightning Valley, so I would not have been able to channel Arc Lightning, pitch Current Funnel to Grasp Sword, which would have been a problem. And if I had instead played the Warmonger's Diplomacy, maybe I get my Vynnset. They were pretty constantly floating attack actions and banish, but then I can't play my Arc Lightning, so I just arsenal it. Now my arsenal is full, so would not have worked out. Hey, it's a local.
You got a report.
Did I not?
No.
Oh, well. Gotta go report. So round 2, sorry, we get the Vynnset. Round 1 is a win. Round 2, play against a Zen. This one was, I just kind of high rolled a little bit. My Zen brought Arcane Barrier 0. I hit them with the Channel Lightning Valley, Sigil of Suffering on turn 2, drew a card, play Burn Up Shock, draw a card, hit with the Burn Up Shock, get them with the Sigil of Suffering later on. Just a really, your classic, I brought AB0 into Aurora and they just drew the interactions that punish that. So not a particularly close game. It's always Zen. It's always scary, right? They have Traverse. My Zen didn't transcend until turn 3, so they were a little slow getting out the gate, which I definitely took advantage of. But Zen is always a scary one, and I just happened to get ahead enough early that I put them on the back foot, and they could never really catch up. Had a really good Exude Confidence that kept them off of Traverse Kasaya, which is what Exude is in the deck for, that and stopping wax-offs. So win round 2, going to round 3, which is against another Zen, one of the second of the 3 Zens at this event. Much, much closer game. I won the die roll, went second, and really good back and forth. My Zen transcended early, had a couple of really good turns. I had some good turns, but what really put me into a bad position early is my Zen had a turn, my turn 1 wax on, wax off, that kept me off of Snatch, Embodiment of Lightning, Lightning Press. So kind of stuffed my turn. Turned a 14 power, draw a card, maybe make it 16 damage turn into deal 3. Blocking, what, 7, 8, 9 points with 2 cards is pretty good. And then the Zen still has a hand and floats the Zen state. Later on in the game, I had a hand of Static Shock, Lightning Press, Current Funnel, Scar for a Scar, and did not allow myself to fall below my Zen's life total because I put armor in front of a Kakara attack and then immediately realized, oh, I'm stupid. Because I missed 2 points of damage on the next turn. I could not swing with a Starfall, which then that 2 points of damage put me into a position where my opponent was at 3 life and I had Sigil of Suffering that I arsenaled at the end of my turn. So if I get those 2 points of damage and I just win the game guaranteed, my opponent has already played Homage, my opponent does not have Kasaya, they don't have a Zen state, so I just win. But now I'm in a position where I have 3 burn-ups and 1 sigil left in my deck, and I need to draw 2 of them, and then I just drew 2 of them. So we got there. Always better to be lucky than good. So at this point, I'm 3-0, should be locked for top 8. I've got 2 more games to go. My top tables currently are looking like a combination of Rune Blades, got a Viserai that just won, a Cilio Kano being played next to me, so one of those 2 will win, and then down the table, we've got an Cilio Florian, and I know my Florian was the pair-up, so potentially we get some weird, like someone from table 2 sneaks into table 1, but it's looking like it's probably going to be a wizard matchup, which I am not super confident in, despite bringing my Shock Charmers. So I'm going to go report. I will catch you all in just a bit with the results of round 4. 3-1 after round 4, lost to a Viserai, who just, like, absolutely high rolled. Double Mordred Tide, double Sonata within the first 3 turns of the game. Both Sonatas flipped 4 cards, revealed 2 attacks, 2 non-attacks. I mean, there's no way that Aurora wins that game ever. So, not a lot to talk about, honestly. I won the die roll, went first, brought Spring Tunic, which I never got to use because the turn that I had where Tunic was active, I also had a blue in hand to pay for Aurora Starfall. So there was just never an opportunity to do it. And ultimately it didn't matter because I just got blown up. Like, yeah, I took over 40 damage within the first 4 turns of the game. There's just no way. I could play that game 100 times and I would lose it every single time. And had I brought Warmongers instead of Current Funnel, the turn that I drew it would have been too late. So I do think that there was just nothing that I could have done. Turns out that the winningest hero, Viserai Runeblood, is the winningest hero for a reason, because he just fundamentally does really powerful things. So going to round 5, which is the game before the cut to top 8. Should probably be against a warrior, but we'll see. Got a wizard. Got a bunch of wizards hanging around the X1 bracket, and I will be back to let you all know how that goes. We're 4-1, Crackle Addicts. Going into the cut now. Figure out what seed number we are. I unfortunately just had to team kill, beating out Austin Kim, Metal Fab Tokens co-captain on his Kano. I mean, it was a Kano game, right? So I'm playing Aurora. I have AB2, Spell Void 2, and there just isn't really... I don't have agency for the most part. I did draw early Arc Lightnings. Played 2 of them. One of them was used for pitch on Austin's turn to spell AB2, a amped to open the floodgates, so I am able to prevent the card draw. That does mean that I go into my turn with 3 reds in hand and an Arc Lightning in arsenal, but overall, just running AB2 Spell Void 2 was enough. Austin had the typical Kano problems of drawing reds and Kanoing for blues, which is unfortunate. I did put him into a couple of tough spots, but for the most part, as the Aurora in the Kano matchup, you're just dealing damage and hoping the Kano can't figure it out. Austin was able to find a Clarity Potion and 2 Energy Potions pretty early, but that's just supplementing the reds that he is drawing and having to pitch into Kano, Floodgates, Wildfire. And I was just able to put him into a position where he had to deal with me, where I'm presenting lethal damage and putting him into a spot where he has to decide, is he going to go while I have cards in hand, or is he going to block or AB my arcane damage and then go down resources for when he's trying to pop off. The Kano matchup is tricky. It's a lot of luck. We did just get there, and excited to go into top 8. Got to win 1 of the next 1 in order to qualify for Nats, but of course we'd love to win 3 of the next 3. So I will keep you all posted. All right, it's a little dark. I'm walking home. Bear with me. Been at the shop for a few hours. Not that I needed to be. I lost in top 8 to Prism. Kind of a brutal game. It started really well for me. So I was the 2nd seed coming into top 8 as the 4-1 with the 2nd best record. We had no undefeateds coming into top 8. So the 2nd seed played against our 7th seed Prism, who ended up winning the entire event. Prism was a really good meta call for this event. His top 8 run was Aurora into Acilio into Zen. My game specifically started very well. I chose to go 2nd. I don't know that that's correct. Prism and Aurora both have the same issue at times where it is an aggro mirror, so in theory I want to go 2nd so that I get tempo early, but a lot of my cards don't block. So if Prism just sends 7 go against 7, there's a good chance that I'm going to take damage. Prism is the same way. A lot of her cards don't block. So my opening hand was 2/3 blocks, a 2 block, and a Sink Below. So I can cover the Angel, cover the Herald, did not have go again. I fire off 2 very good turns and take tempo early, where I stumbled then as I started drawing very medium hands, specifically no defense reactions. And my Prism drew 3 Herald of Eruditions 3 turns in a row, and then looped 1 with Herald of Rebirth. So I can block 2 of them, but for the other 2 eruditions, I'm just 1 point off. It's erudition coming in with courage for 6, and I have my 2-block armor and a 3-block in hand. Or it is herald coming in for 5, and I have a 3-block and 1 point on my armor. Any D-react here gets me out of this situation, and I just cannot find one after that first sink below. So I lose. It ends up being fairly closer than I thought it would be based on the eruditions. I could have won it. Where I screwed up was blocking with armor early to keep Prism off of Soul, which is correct. That is my top priority. But I could have covered it with a Flittering Charge from hand, so blocking with a 3-block, a 2-block, and armor, compared to what I did, which was a 3-block and 4 armor. And that ended up getting me on the erudition because I could not draw Sink Below. So it wasn't that it was wrong, it was that it was greedy. And that's a lesson. Not qualified for Nats, which sucks. I believe I could have won the event. 1 out if I beat the Prism. I am favored into the Acilio, and I get to choose to go second. I had already beaten the Zen in Swiss, and I was the higher seed, so I would have gone second. It would have looked good for me, but them's the breaks. Learned something about Prism. Not a matchup I have a lot of experience in, but I at least get better. And we'll be back next week with a double header. So I hope you have enjoyed this very dark tournament report. I was happy I brought Aurora. Felt like top 8 was a good showing with her. I know I could have done better, and I can do better in the coming weeks. So looking forward to qualifying for Nats. Super proud of Maxwell for winning out on Prism. Really good run from him. Scraping into the top 8 at 7th seed, and then just tearing through the top 8. My game with him was close. He then proceeded to just beat the crap out of an Acilio. The Wizard matchup, very good for Prism, and then took down Zen in the finals, and Zen was just not prepared for what Prism was going to be doing. So really good call from Maxwell to bring Prism. Very good scene for it. He was telling me a bit about his thought process. He was expecting a lot of Wizard. He was not expecting a lot of Viserai, and the Prism call paid off. It's good in the aggro mirrors. I had a hard time with it, as you know. Blocking the Herald of Erudition is difficult if I don't have the defense reaction, but in general, blocking 2 for 7 go again is very difficult for Aurora to do. And I managed to navigate the early turns pretty well, but 4 Herald of Erudition in a row is just hard to deal with if your deck doesn't want to give you defense reactions. So overall, I think I should be proud of my performance. 4-1 in Swiss, ending up as 2nd seed is a really good place to be. I've overcome what my problem was a few seasons ago, where I would just lose round 1, win out after that, but wind up in the lower half of the top 8 bracket, and then lose out in top 8 because I have to go first or second, whatever the disadvantageous position is. But I seem to have replaced losing in round 1 with losing in top 8, which is not where I want to be. Positives coming out of this event. I won almost every matchup that I prepared for. I was more or less prepared for Vynnset. Vaporize does a good amount of work against both Viserai and Vynnset, and it did work against Vynnset, and I had some reps in the matchup, felt good about what I was trying to do as Aurora, felt confident that I at least had a plan, even if Vynnset is favored in that matchup, which I think she is. I at least knew what a win looked like, and with some luck was able to actualize that. Very proud of both of my Zen wins. That is a hero that I have historically had trouble with on Aurora. It can be a very close matchup, and if the Zen is able to make 1 or especially 2 Zen states, it becomes very difficult for Aurora to punch through, but I have a good sideboard plan for it. I'm comfortable in the matchup, and so it was very gratifying to beat both of my Zens. One in convincing fashion, and the second in a very close way, but had I not misplayed earlier in the game, it would have been much more decisive in my favor, so that feels great. My loss to Viserai was really, I just got high-rolled. I mean, Mordred Tide, Sonata Arcanix, revealing 2 attacks with Go Again, 2 turns in a row. like, I would like to think I made it a game. Viserai was under 10 life by the time I died, but I think most decks are going to have a hard time winning through that start from the Viserai, so I don't feel terrible about it. And then winning out against Kano in my 5th match, while not having a ton of agency, I at least feel like I put myself in the best position to win that matchup without having agency. So, on the positives, I won almost every game that I was prepared for. Now, on the negatives, this is my 2nd event in a row where I lost in top 8 to a Dark Horse deck that I was not prepared for. In ProQuest season last year, it was Acilio in top 4, and in RTN season this last weekend, it was Prism in top 8. And that is the advantage of bringing a Dark Horse deck, right? You, as the Dark Horse player, will have played more games against your opponent's hero than they have played against yours. So you are bringing experience and a plan to the matchup where they are relying on the raw power of their top meta pick. So yes, they have an advantage in that sense, but I don't know what the takeaway from that is for my own level of preparedness. Certainly against Prism, I just did not expect the Herald of Erudition. I forgot that it exists, so I aggressively blocked with armor early, essentially choosing a 3-card 11 over a 2-card 7, which was the wrong call. A 2-card 7, but getting to keep 2 points of armor would have put me into a better position overall because I don't get hit by the first Herald of Erudition, which means that they don't snowball into the 2nd, which snowballs into the 3rd, which finds the Herald of Rebirth to get the 4th Herald of Erudition. And that's just something that, great, I'll make a matchup note of it. Just like how I lost to Acilio in my ProQuest. If they're going for a big combo and I think it's going to end in a Mind Warp and my 5-card hand is really good, just don't block, right? The card that I'm blocking is worth more on offense than it is on defense. So yeah, there are these minor things that I can put into my matchup guide for the future and know, okay, well, whenever I run into a Prism again, I'm going to have the words reminding me, save armor for Herald of Erudition. Like, cool, great. Next time I won't lose to Prism in the same way. But it's frustrating to keep losing to these Dark Horse picks, and it's like, there are over 30 legal heroes in Flesh and Blood right now. We're about to hit a string of Living Legend Ascensions, at least according to LSS, based on where Viserai and Zen, -IE, Azalea, Enigma, and New, based on where a lot of these heroes are, and how their power level adjusts based on Viserai leaving the meta, and then based on Zen leaving the meta. Yeah, in theory we're about to cycle some heroes out, but for months now, years, heroes just haven't been hitting LL. We had KO got really close, and then Zen came out, and Zen eclipsed KO, so now KO's stuck. And Zen locked a bunch of heroes out of the format, and then Zen was going to LL, but Syndra released, and then Syndra locked Zen out. And Viserai is kind of just doing his thing and locking heroes out of the meta, but when Viserai leaves, it's going to be Enigma locking heroes out, and Enigma is far enough away that she won't LL anytime soon. So you wind up in this position where there are 35 heroes that you need at least some passing knowledge of how to deal with, and maybe you remind yourself, okay, well, Prism plays Herald of Erudition, so I need to save armor for Herald. But she's going to do something else that you don't know what she does because you don't have the reps in the matchup because no one has the time to properly learn how to play against 30 plus heroes. So then it's like, well, do I keep playing Aurora, who is objectively very strong and is very well positioned into the top meta decks? Or do I try to play this Dark Horse hero that no one is going to know how to play against, but is objectively less powerful than Zen or Viserai? And I had this experience back in the Lexi meta when I was playing Kodachi Phi with Mask of Momentum. And I would get wins over Lexi because they didn't know how to block. So I would Kodachi Phoenix Flame, and they wouldn't want to give armor because they didn't have any, and they wouldn't want to give a card from hand because they're trying to put these 4-card 20s together. So then I get to draw a 5th card and go I'm just playing with an int 5 hero and I win based on that. But then I would have other games where, based on draw variants or whatever the Lexi was trying to do, she would just 3-of-a-kind Rain Razors, here's a 4-card 35. And, well, that's what I want to be doing. So I felt like that was my position going into the Prism game, where I am playing Aurora, an objectively powerful deck. I can take very high-value lines. Had I blocked better or made fewer mistakes early, then I win that game. But a lot of those mistakes come in hindsight, where I now have matchup knowledge that I did not have before. And in a sense, that's good. Every Flesh and Blood event should be a learning opportunity. I should be growth-oriented, not results-oriented. Getting top 8 is not my goal, but my goal is to learn, and I'm preparing for Pro Tour London, and so now I am better prepared for any Prism matchups I come against in the future. It's great, perfect, exactly what I want to do. But in the short term, getting knocked out of top 8 by whatever dark horse hero I now know how to play against is very frustrating, does not get me any closer to funding my London travels or whatever trip in the future, because I'm not winning the gold foil or the playmat that I could now sell to help fund those excursions. It's just very it's very frustrating. You're burning your hand on the oven so that you learn not to touch the oven anymore. And because heroes aren't LLing at a rapid pace, I don't have to remove certain heroes from my brain. I don't get to shed the knowledge of how to play against Viserai or Zen and replace it with knowledge of how to play against Jarl or Prism or Riptide or whoever comes to fill the void. So I guess I'm just frustrated. Objectively, top 8ing is good, and I have now top 8'd my last 4 events in a row. I am consistently getting to the point that I want to be at, where I'm making it to the top 8 cut, and I can learn how to improve from there. All of this that I understand. This is a great place for me to be in my Flesh and Blood career. I'm playing a deck I'm comfortable with. She isn't close to LLing. She's getting an Armory deck in a month. She's going to be very well positioned. I feel confident into the top meta picks. But at a certain point, it's like, can I just be okay in top 8? Can I just win the games that I feel like I'm supposed to be winning? Can I not lose to this weird dark horse? I don't know how to play against it. And what is most frustrating to me, and what I'll work on and bring to you, etc., is I don't know how to actually learn from here. I don't know how to practice better, because, like I said, I prepared for Zen and I beat Zen. I prepared for Kano and I beat Kano. I prepared for Vis and lost, but I feel like I'll play that game 100 times and lose every single one based on how we each drew. There's no way out, so I can be satisfied with that. But if everything I'm going to lose to is something I'm not prepared for, I don't know how to prepare for the unexpected. And that is frustrating to me as a Spike, as someone who really cares too much, is hyper-competitive. So I'm just a little frustrated. And then I'm frustrated at myself for being frustrated, because I should be happy that I'm top 8ing consistently. That's the goal. That gets me to day 2 in Callings. That gets me to top 8 in Battle Hardens. But I want more from myself, and I don't know how to get there. So that felt a little raw. I wish I had more of a lesson to impart to all of you about, well, here is the approach I'm going to take, and here's how I'm going to prepare for my next RTN, and the next time I run into Riptide in top 8, I know how I'm going to approach a matchup that I haven't practiced for. But for now, at least, I don't have an answer. It's something I need to reflect on, and I'll talk with my teammates and friends and see what they recommend. If any of you have any suggestions, my comment section is wide open. Please help, because I would love to be able to bring you these stories of valiant victories and times where I overcame the odds, and it was a hero that I didn't know what to expect, but I could fall back on this, and this heuristic. And at least for now, I'm getting close. My Acilio game was close, the Prism game was close. Both were definitely winnable, but making either little mistakes based on misevaluating hands or just flat out not knowing the matchup is costing me EV at these events, and it's frustrating. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from my failure. If so, be sure to smash that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. I'll be playing Syndra all through the rest of this week, checking out some Fi later, starting next week, trying out the list that I posted to Deck Tech for a few weeks ago, and really trying to fine-tune that. Catch me next time on Daily Fab Gameplay, and until then, take care.